What up? What up? What up? What's going on with y'all, man? Ooh, what's up with it? What's up with it? Hope y'all had a blessed day, having a blessed night, blessed morning, whatever, wherever you at in the world. Back, man. It's Mr. Zac, man. Surfing YouTube tonight. I came across a video uh, of John Kennedy, senator of Louisiana, and he discovered some fraud. He discovered fraud going on in the government when it relates to money being sent out, checks, checks being sent out to dead people. You heard me. They sending billions of dollars. They were sending billions of dollars to dead people who are no longer here. And he went off because I want to know who was receiving this money. I want to know. For them to be giving it to dead people, what people, who, I just want to know. But man, surfing YouTube, late night, early morning, whatever it is. But we finna look at this, man. All I can say is,
come on now, dog. Come on, man.
all the money to dead people is fraud going on, man. That's why they got the Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, to get rid of this wasteful spending. Like, we paying too much into taxes. We paying into stuff that we don't even know what we paying into. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. We paying into we paying into basically our demise. We killing our pockets out here with the taxes. But anyway, man, let me get to this video, man. Forbes breaking news, man. Shout out to Forbes breaking news, because they always, it just seems they're like TMZ of the political realm. Anything happen, they there. I hope I get to that point one day. But hey, it is what it is. But let's get to Senator John Kennedy, Republican from Louisiana, calling out the fraud, calling out how dead people are receiving money. Billions of, with a B, billions. I ain't saying millions with an M. I'm saying it with a B. Billions of dollars being given to dead people. And we already know how the dead people's not getting the money. It's really people that's alive. We know that. But it's being called out right now. It's being called out. Yeah. But anyway, man, let's get to this Senator John Kennedy calling it out. All right. Let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, with me today are two of my colleagues from my Senate office, Mr. John Lowry and Mr. Jackson Bewley. I am grateful for their good judgment, counsel, and advice. I am delighted, Mr. President, to see so many members of Congress, and I mean this sincerely, so many members of Congress embrace the call for a less wasteful federal government, for a more efficient federal government. We spend a little over $6 trillion a year, as Senator Sanders so eloquently pointed out. When you spend $6 trillion a year, somebody's getting $6 trillion a year. Every penny in our budget has a constituency, and that constituency will fight us. They will fight us. And I recognize that, and it's something that as we go about downsizing government, we have to be mindful of. However, there is one constituency that is not going to be able to fight us in our quest to scrutinize federal spending, and I'm referring to dead people. And that's what I want to talk about today. What? I want to talk about dead people. What? And the fact that they're getting money from the federal government.
What the hell?
That's what we here for. I want to see what he found out. I ain't even gonna lie, I watched this one time before, but I really didn't pay attention to it till I heard money being sent to dead people.
What the hell?
You know what I'm saying? But let's go.
In fiscal year 2023 alone, this is just 1 year, our government sent $1.3 billion.
In 1 year?
Come on now, dog.
Lord.
Come on, man.
He ain't say whatever million. He put it with a B. Good Lord. Just wasteful spending.
Not $1.3 million. We sent $1.3 billion in checks to dead people. Those aren't my numbers. Those numbers.
I know they talking about on the dead homies, but damn. All that money. Yeah. Googly moogly.
Numbers come from the Office of Management and Budget. That's just 1 year. Not only is the federal government sending checks to dead people, those checks are being cashed.
Oh, no, not cashed.
Now, I have heard.
Not cashed. So that lets you know there's some fraud going on. They're talking about it's being cashed.
What? Help me.
Mr. President, of dead people voting, but cashing the checks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be God's perfect idiot.
You don't.
To realize that there's fraud happening.
It's fraud. Somebody's cashing.
With respect to all this.
Somebody cashing them checks. It ain't them damn dead people. It ain't the dead people cashing it. It's somebody cashing them. Get to the bottom of it, man.
Money. Here's how this problem arises. When you die in America, your name is sent to the Vital Records Office in your state.
Y'all hear that? When you die, your name goes to the Vital Records in your state.
And at that point, the Social Security Administration pays each state
What?
to get an ongoing list of deceased Americans in that state. So far, so good. The Social Security Administration takes this data, this list of deceased people, and they compile on an ongoing basis a list called the Death Master File. The Death Master File. That's just a list of everybody, updated daily, of people in the United States who are deceased. Why does the Social Security Administration do this? Well, so the SSA, Social Security Administration, can stop sending people who have died checks.
Sounds foolproof now. When they die, they get information that the person died and they stop sending the checks. But something going on. How are these people dying and still getting paid? Or people just been dead a long time ago, still getting checks? It sounds foolproof. They following the protocol and what they supposed to do, but it's something else going on.
So far, so good. There's just one problem. I discovered this about 7 years ago. The Social Security Administration refuses to share that list with anybody else in the federal government.
They ain't gonna share it. They ain't gonna share it.
What?
They already know. They already know they're committing fraud. They don't want to share it with nobody. Their information. Come on, man. If y'all ain't being fraud, why wouldn't you share your information?
They won't share it with any other federal agencies, many of which send out checks. The Department of Treasury, for example, sends out checks. SSA won't share the information with them. The Small Business Administration sends out a lot of checks. The Social Security Administration has a list of all deceased Americans, but SSA will not share that information with the SBA.
They ain't gonna share it.
I'll give you some examples. You remember, Mr. President, when we were in the coronavirus crisis, so we had an economic meltdown. We sent stimulus checks to Americans to try to keep the economy on its feet. We paid $1.4 billion
Wow.
to dead people, and they cashed the checks. The Paycheck Protection Program, which was a part of our stimulus program.
Everybody gets the PPP loans. They was giving PPP loans out like hotcakes. Come on, man. You can't blame us for taking those though. But man, it was wasted. It was wasted spending on dead people getting PPP loans. You know what I'm saying?
Program paid out $38 million alone to dead people. These were people who were using, live people obviously, who were using dead people's Social Security numbers to collect payments. The COVID-19 Economic Disaster Injury Disaster Loan Fund, another culprit, was involved in sending checks to dead people. The Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm not blaming them, in many respects it's not their fault. A couple of years ago, a scam artist stole the Social Security number of a deceased person, deceased veteran, and received about $825,000 in checks.
820.
From 1997 to 2024.
Wow.
Now, the person committing this fraud was just quietly accepting the checks. Somehow the Department of Veterans Affairs, and for some reason, stopped sending that person the checks. So the fraudster just picked up the phone and called the Department of Veterans Affairs. He impersonated the dead person and convinced them to start sending the checks again. Again, not necessarily the fault of the Department of Veterans Affairs. The VA didn't know that the Social Security number belonged to a deceased person.
Wow.
Another example, a person in Ohio was able to collect her deceased mother's Veterans Affairs benefits for 48 years.
Good Lord. Wait a minute.
What? Help me.
She collected benefits. The daughter of the mother she been died. She's been collecting benefits, money through her mom's that's been dead. She been collecting it for 48 years.
Oh my God.
48 damn years. That's somebody's whole damn life. 48 years. Boy, this government is something else, man.
Come on now, dog.
Something else.
Come on, man.
Lord.
48 years before she was called. We don't. The truth is, Mr. President, it's sort of like
that lady got everything she ever wanted. 48 years. You can't get everything you want in 48 motherfucking years. Something wrong with you. Excuse my language. I had to cuss right there. That's crazy. This lady been getting money for 48 years through her mom deceased from her deceased mother. People be finding all kind of loopholes, man. I wish I could find something like that, man. But anyway, I don't incriminate myself, get in trouble for nothing. But look, 48 damn years of just free money. 2024, it's almost over with, man. We've been hearing all kind of stuff coming out this year. 2024, what's 2025 gonna be like? Lord.
It's sort of like saying, being asked, you didn't go fishing on Saturday. How many fish do you think you didn't catch? We don't know how much money we're sending out every year to dead people.
Lord.
Let me give you an example of how screwed up the data is, Mr. President. This is a strong indicator of what's wrong. The Social Security Administration, if you ask them, will tell you that there are, according to their records, there are 6.5 million Americans living today in America who are 112 years of age or older. They say there are 6.5 million Americans who are at least 112 years old or older. Now, I don't know about you, Mr. President, but I don't know anybody who's 112 years old. And I checked, at any given time, there are about 40 people.
He said, last time I checked, I don't know nobody to live 112 years. I heard that cross. I had to stop the video on that, man. I don't know nobody that lived no 112 years. They was getting money
on an ongoing basis in the world who are fortunate enough to live to be 112. But the data is so screwed up that according to SSA, 6.5 million people are 112 years old. A number of years ago, 7 years ago, I started working with Senator Tom Carper, a fine American, if there ever was one. I started working with Tom on this issue. I went to Social Security, and I said, look, this problem is easily solved. Just share the death master file.
The death master file.
Agents.
The death master file is the file that they update every day because people are dying every day. The death master file has every single death. It might not tell you how they died, but it's an updated system all the time. That's what it is. They don't want to share that.
and especially share it with the Department of Treasury. I don't want to confuse anyone, but the Department of Treasury has a do not pay list of people who aren't supposed to receive checks for a variety of reasons that other agencies consult. But I said to my friends at Social Security, why don't you just give the death master file to other agencies? They said, we can't. It's illegal.
Why?
The way we construe our enabling statutes, we don't have the authority. Well, I said, okay, I'm not going to argue with them.
I will, because the hell?
We'll just go pass a law. It was harder than I thought, but we did. In 2020, Senator Carpenter and I passed a bill. The bill was called Stopping Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. And it gave the...
I got to rewind that, how he said that. Like, the bill, it is what it is. The way they named it, it is what it is. The way they named it, that's what's going on. They ain't cutting no corners, nothing. Now, hopefully I rewind it back far enough. But, man, it was funny how he said that.
The bill. The bill was called Stopping Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. And it gave the Social Security Administration...
They just make up all kind of like laws and stuff, just name it like long, crazy phrases. The bet not wear pink socks tomorrow when the sun come up bill. That's funny. Man, let's go.
Administration permission, and indeed directed the Social Security Administration to start sharing its list of dead people with other agencies in the federal government. I don't want to get down in the weeds, but believe it or not, we had people opposing legislation, and many people within the federal government. So in order to get our bill passed, we had to compromise. We had to agree to only implement this requirement that Social Security share the list of dead people with everybody else. We could only get them to agree to do it for 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
For a trial program. This clock started ticking on our 3-year period in December of 2023. So obviously 3 years is right upon us, and if we don't make this program permanent, it's going to expire in 2026. So Senator Carper and I have introduced another bill. It does basically the same thing as the 2020 bill, but it makes the program permanent. This new bill is called Ending Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. And we need to pass it. There's been a lot of squabbling.
This was the act.
There's been a lot of squabbling. It's called Ending Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. And we need to pass it. Bill, but it makes the program permanent. This new bill is called Ending Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. And we need to pass it. There's been a lot of squabbling.
Need to pass that damn bill. We need to cut down on everything. Everything need to be watched. You know what I'm saying? The government got to watch the government now. Like, they've been watching us for the longest. It's time to watch their damn self.
Back and forth. I don't want to do anything to step on too many toes to jeopardize my bill, but about how much the states are going to be paid and who's going to pay Social Security for sharing their dead person's list with the rest of the government. I think we have a lot of it worked out, but we need to go past this bill.
We do.
I mean, this makes no sense whatsoever. I can understand if we talk about changing the Medicaid program, for example. What's fair, what's unfair. I can understand debating that, and I can understand reasonable people disagreeing over what changes, if any, we ought to make to the Medicaid program. I get it. I just listened to Senator Sanders once again speak very eloquently about the waste at the Department of Defense. That's something that reasonable people, all of whom agree that we ought to have a strong defense, but reasonable people can disagree over how to achieve that. But my God, you don't have to be Euclid to figure out that this is just fraud.
It's fraud. It's fraud, John Kennedy. Come on, man. We know. I don't know why you sitting there to keep explaining it. We know if they sending money to dead people and the checks are being cashed, the dead people ain't cashing the damn checks. Man, it's crazy how things just, you just see it and he's seeing it and it's like, man, what we gonna do? What is the government gonna do about this? You already state your claim. We already know dead people is getting money and somebody cashing it. What is the next step? We gotta wait until Joe Biden get the hell up out of office before the next step happens, because they calling out all this fraud, all these billions and trillions of dollars is just going to other countries and spending money on dumb stuff that don't even make no damn sense. Hope this is the precursor to, not the precursor, am I using the right word? Precursor? The prelude to, I hope this is the prelude to what's about to come, because we need to call out all this BS. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. What's going on, Keck? Man, I see you, man. Look, let me know what the quality look like, brother. You know, I'm up here trying to step my game up. I've been offline for a minute, trying to get everything right. So when I come back, man, in 2025, we're going to make some noise over here on Mr. Zac Reacts channel. I might change the name again. We don't know. I don't know. I might change it again. But I've been over here, man, grinding, getting new equipment, changing up different things, trying out different stuff. So let me know, Keck, what's going on with you, brother? I'm glad you're still rocking. Glad you're still rocking. You know what I'm saying? You've been watching me since day one. Keck, you've been watching me since day one. Late nights, driving in the car, loaded, and all kind of stuff, man. You've been around, so finna make this thing crack, man. I've been going through a lot of different things, and God has been blessing me, and he's blessing me to keep this thing going, man. I got to keep it going. It's a lot of times I want to quit, but if I quit, man, it's all going to be for nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's all going to be for nothing. It is, man. But we got like, let me see, 2 or 3 minutes left of this video, man, of John Kennedy calling out the fraud, man, money being sent to dead people.
It's abuse. It's low-hanging fruit, and it's so easily solved. All we have to do, but my God, people can disagree over how to achieve that.
You have to rewind it, John.
But my God, you don't have to be Euclid to figure out that this is just fraud. It's abuse. It's low-hanging fruit, and it's so easily solved. All we have to do is direct the Social Security Administration on a permanent basis, not a three-year trial basis, on a permanent basis, to start sharing the list of dead people with the Department of Treasury and everybody else in federal government who wants it. And then everybody's on the same page, and we know who's deceased, and we can stop sending the money to dead people who cash the checks. Now, I'm talking about this now, Mr. President. I've talked about it before on the floor. I'm not going to try to pass the bill this year. I'm not.
Why not?
We're running up against the clock, and we have the NDAA. We have a CR to pass, and we've got to keep government open. We've got to renew the flood insurance program, and you know all that, Mr. President. But I'm going to be back. I'm like the Terminator. I will be back.
I'll be back.
As soon as the new Congress is sworn in. Many of my colleagues have said to me, you know, it's time we stop talking about who needs to pay more in taxes and start talking about and asking the question with respect to what the hell happened to the money. And I agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of an easier place to start. Let's just pass this simple bill. Let's stop sending money to dead people.
Wow.
Again, we can debate about the wisdom of dead people voting. We all know what happens. But cashing checks,
man,
that's a bridge too far.
It is too far, man.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your time and attention. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Good Lord. Stop sending money to dead people, man. What's wrong with these people? I can't even, man, they won't even send me no damn money. Ain't talking about sending money to dead people. I can't even, come on, man. It's a waste, man. It is a waste. What's going on with y'all, man, tonight, man? I'm back. I'm trying to do my little late night, early morning little live stream, you know what I'm saying? Surfing YouTube. We finna just dig in and dive in, man, to whatever topic it is. It ain't nothing. Ain't none of this stuff scripted, man. Ain't none of it scripted. We just doing what we doing. I got me some new little equipment. I got some other stuff coming. I'm trying to make this live stream and just the quality, just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to upgrade it. So if it looks good, man, let me know, man. Put a number 1 in the chat, man. Let me know what the quality look like. Put a number 1 if it's good, and number 2 if it can use some work, and a number 3 is if you ain't even rocking with the quality. Let me know, man. I would love to know. You know what I'm saying? This stuff costs money. I'm trying to build, keep this thing going. I started something, and it's like, man, I can't even stop if I even wanted to. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We just serving YouTube. I'm looking at titles. I'm gonna let y'all. I'm sharing the screen with y'all right now. I'm sharing the screen on certain things. You know what I'm saying? If it's big enough for y'all to see what I'm looking at, tell me, hey man, look, hey, Mrs. Zac, hit that link, that title. We gonna just look at it and see what's going on. So let me see. Let y'all see what I'm looking at. Yeah, my boy Josh Hawley, man, he be on you, like for real. He one of those people, man, who question. He don't give a damn. He gonna question you and let you know. The cold thing about YouTube, man, I can stream anybody's live stream right now. Like we got what's his name? King AK-47. If I click on his thing, I can live stream his live stream. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he'll get the notification, but if I do a good job to spread the message, he might not. He might not copyright strike me, but that's the cool thing about YouTube, man. You can just go on here and just see what you want to see. You know what I'm saying? But I'm finna take y'all off of y'all don't need to see what I'm looking at. Let me see here. We just surfing, man. Surfing YouTube. Where's my cursor at? There it is. It happened when you got like 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6 different monitors. You can't just like, you be lost. You gotta find that little white cursor. You gotta find it. There I am. It's alive, man. This is a live. I might not talk for about 2-3 minutes, but you on here watching, you know what I'm saying, what I'm doing. So let's get it. Jim Jordan grills Attorney General Merrick Garland. We finna look at that right there, because I can't rock with Merrick Garland, man. That dude is corrupted.
Mr. Dettelbach, what were you trying to hide? On the raid on March 19th at Mr. Malinowski's house, disabled the doorbell camera, cut electricity to the house, and you didn't wear body cameras. What were you guys trying to hide?
Mr. Chairman, we're not trying to hide things. In fact,
Sure seems like it.
You
guys cut electricity to the house?
After the...
Oh, that's a question.
I'm trying to answer. Okay, if there's no question, that's fine. I'm sorry.
No, that is a question. Did you?
After the incident, we, along with the Little Rock Police, called for an independent investigation being done by the Arkansas State Police and the local prosecutor. That's not trying to hide anything.
I asked 3 questions. Why'd you put the tape on the doorbell camera? Why'd you cut the lights? And why didn't you wear the body cams? What are you trying to hide?
And Mr. Chairman, the reason that we called for the investigation is we're not trying to hide anything. The reason I'm not going to talk about what's going on in that investigation is to respect its independence and out of fairness. There's a reason for the Department of Justice policy that's existed for so many decades about not commenting on pending matters. It's not fair to people, and it risks the perception that people are trying to influence.
How about this one? Why'd you ignore the rules? Because don't the rules say you should only use a no-knock entrance into a property if it's the only way, if it's the absolute best way to do it? I mean, I can read from Ms. Monaco's directive. Limit the circumstances in which agents may seek to enter a dwelling pursuant to a warrant without complying with the knock and announce rule because of the risk posed to both law enforcement and civilians. So you want to limit this. Why'd you guys do it all in 57 seconds?
Respectfully, with respect to what I said before, is that we are not trying to hide anything. An independent agency is investigating it, and we, pursuant to longstanding policy, are not going to comment.
The Department of Justice has already told us you guys weren't wearing cameras. I'm just asking why.
For the cameras, our body-worn camera policy, I can talk about that. I think I can answer the question without talking about this case.
You can talk about some things relative to the investigation, but not others. We want all the answers to what's going on here.
I will tell you, with respect to the body-worn camera policy, the Department of Justice announced that policy when it was announced, as we have communicated to your staff and you. It was announced that it would be phased implementation. ATF is implementing that policy. We've implemented it in just under 1/3 of our field divisions. We have not received 3 separate requests for program funding from Congress to do so, but we are still doing it. I watched a hearing a couple of weeks ago.
Did the Little Rock police officers who accompanied you on this raid, did they wear body cams?
Again, not commenting on this specific case, but in general, the Department of Justice written policy allows local law enforcement on these types.
Uh-oh.
Types of operations, short-term operations, to follow their own guidelines and policies, if they wish, in body-worn cameras. And what I wanted to say is...
Their policy was to wear them. They weren't wearing them that day. We want to know why. Did you tell them not to wear them?
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman.
It is simply unfair at this point while there's a pending investigation.
That's a simple question. We just want to know why they weren't following the rules. Their rules say wear body cameras.
Question.
Your rules say wear body cameras. You weren't wearing body cameras. I go back to my original question. What were you trying to hide? We saw the video where you walked up and you put the tape on the doorbell. We know there were no lights to the foyer area. We have Mrs. Malinowski here who can testify to that. And we know you weren't wearing body cameras. What were you hiding?
Again, Mr. Chairman, we're not hiding anything. And with respect to the body-worn camera policy, the people there...
Why on the 12th did you not go and search the home? You were all circled up, ready to go, but a week before, on the 12th of March, you don't go. You go on the 19th. Why'd you decide not to go on the 12th?
Mr. Chairman, these operations, and by the way, we do about 11,000 operations each year. They're very dangerous operations. ATF doesn't do anything that is not dangerous. Well, it's not quite true, but many of them are very, very dangerous. And those operations are handled by people with decades of law enforcement experience. They plan them, they look at things.
Director, you got to admit, this is a little unique. You got a citizen, the highest paid official in the municipal government, Little Rock, Arkansas, making $260,000 a year, running the airport, no criminal background history, nothing, and he's dead at a pre-dawn raid when it sure looks like you could have served this search warrant when he wasn't there, but you decided not to. You decided to wait till he was home when you did it on March 19th. And as a result, Mr. Malinowski is no longer with us.
Well, first of all, let me just say this, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, any time that there's a loss of life, that is a profound incident. And of course, on behalf of just myself, ATF, and all law enforcement, we are very sorry when those things happen. Also, an agent was shot that day, and I'm sure you are sorry that that occurred also.
Of course, all the more reason to follow the no-knock warrant, not to have a no-knock warrant take place and follow the rules.
Mr. Chairman, as somebody who has worked with law enforcement for decades, there's a great temptation when a horrible incident happens to prejudge. Sometimes people even try to use it to advance agendas. The cops who are in the field and the family...
I just want the answers. My time has expired.
Gentleman's time's expired. Now recognize Mr. Jordan from Ohio for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Doctor, why was it so important that the virus not have started in a lab?
We don't know where it started, and that's the reason why I keep an open mind. So I don't know what you mean by why was it so important. It wasn't important.
Well, you still don't know where it started? The guys you gave money to figured out in 3 days.
No.
Mr. Anderson said on January 31st, 2020, virus looks engineered, virus not consistent with evolutionary theory. The very next day, Dr. Gary said, I don't know how this happens in nature. It'd be easy to do in a lab. And then 3 days later, Shazam, they switch and say it has to be nature. So they figured out in 3 days, but you still don't know?
No, in fact, if you look at what they were saying, Congressman Jordan, they were saying that it was not a manufactured virus. It still could have evolved out of a lab.
Well, let me read something here to you.
They're not incompatible.
In our study on the censorship of the Biden administration working with big tech, I want to read you a WhatsApp message from Mark Zuckerberg. Can we include that the White House put pressure on us to censor the lab leak theory? So this is a communication on July 16th, 2021. Nick Clegg, Joel Kaplan, Sheryl Sandberg, Mark Zuckerberg. They're certainly feeling the pressure to downplay any lab leak theory and go with the natural origin theory.
Is there a question there?
One's coming. Here's another email to Mark Zuckerberg. It says, subject line, COVID misinformation, Wuhan lab leak theory. In response to continued public pressure and tense conversations with the new administration, we started removing 5 COVID claims, including the lab leak theory. Mr. Zuckerberg responds, this seems like a good reminder that when we compromise our standards due to pressure from an administration in either direction, we often later regret it. Why was it so important the virus not have started in a lab?
wasn't so important that the virus we don't know. We
Well,
know
it was important to someone in the Biden administration, so much so that the top people at Meta, the top people at Facebook are asking, why are we getting all this pressure to downplay the lab leak theory? And we have an email from June of the same year, June 4th, 2021, saying the same thing. It was certainly important to somebody.
Well, what has that got to do with me?
I'm asking you because you're the expert on the coronavirus. I'm saying, why was the administration so pushing not to have the lab leak theory as something that was viable?
I can answer that. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
You kept an open mind, Dr. Fauci, open mind.
That is correct.
What happened in those 3 days? Why did Dr. Anderson and Mr. Anderson and Dr. Gary, why did they change their mind in 180 degrees? Because what Christian Anderson says 3 days later, after he said virus looks engineered, virus not consistent with evolutionary theory, 3 days later he says the main crackpot theories going around at the moment relate to this virus being somehow engineered, and that is demonstrably false. How did they figure all that out in 3 days, Dr. Fauci?
You can do that.
You still have an open mind.
Well, what they did is that they testified before this committee. What they did, they went back and looked at the sequences and realized that their initial concern was unfounded about that, and it did not look at all like it was manufactured. But as they said in their paper, even though they feel it was more likely...
3 days, they figured it out.
That's exactly. You could do that in 3 days. You can scan sequences in a day. You don't need 3 days.
Okay, who's Robert Redfield?
The former director of the CDC.
Dr. Redfield, right? And he was also on the coronavirus task force. Is that accurate?
He was a member of the coronavirus task force.
And here's what he said to this committee. He said, Redfield said that Fauci and Collins left him out because Redfield suspected that coronavirus had leaked from the Chinese lab. Is that accurate?
Well, he said that, but that's not true. That is incorrect, Congressman.
Dr. Redfield's lying to the committee when he sat right where you sat?
When he said that I kept him out, that is an incorrect statement. The roster who was on the phone...
Was Dr. Redfield in that conference call on February 1st when you had Mr. Anderson and Dr. Gary on that call?
He was not. And the conference call was put together by Jeremy Farrar. So no one kept him out. He said he was kept out because he felt...
Did U.S. tax dollars...
You want me to answer the question?
Yeah, I would just wonder why he wasn't on the call. It seems to me the head of CDC, part of the coronavirus task force, which was formed 2 days prior to that call, would have been on the call.
Well, the call was arranged by Jeremy Farrar. You should ask him.
Okay. Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
I'm sorry, what was...
Did U.S. tax dollars flow through a grant recipient to the lab in China?
Yes, of course. It was a sub-award to the Wuhan Institute.
And who approved that award?
Excuse me?
And who approved that award? What agency approved that award?
National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
Your agency approved that, right?
Yes, it did. After...
Does that have anything to do with this downplaying of the lab leak theory?
No.
Nothing to do with it?
Nothing.
What... Do you agree that there was a push to downplay the lab leak theory?
Not on my part.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
I think most of the country would find that amazing. I still got 11 seconds.
But look at the facts. I've kept an open mind throughout the entire process.
All right, I yield back.
I now recognize the majority.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Garland, why Jack Smith? Why'd you pick him?
I've said at the time I appointed Mr. Smith, I explained he was independent. He was a longtime career prosecutor
But there are probably other people who you would describe as independent, long-time career prosecutor. Why did you pick? This is probably the most high-profile special counsel investigation, maybe in American history. You're going to be investigating a former president, a candidate for president, and leading in all the polls, and you pick Jack Smith, most important selection maybe ever made from Attorney General when you come to a special counsel. I just want to know why you could have picked former AGs, deputy AGs, U.S. attorneys. You got all kinds of lawyers in this town, but you picked Jack Smith.
Yeah, all the people you just mentioned would be political appointees. I appointed somebody who was not a political appointee, somebody who was independent, nonpartisan, with a record of career experience as a prosecutor. That seemed to me the perfect resume for making that kind of...
He was a guy, worked, had to bring him back from Europe. He worked at the ICC, worked at the World Court. He was the best pick for the most high-profile investigation ever?
He was independent. He was nonpartisan. He had never held a political office. He was never appointed in a political office.
Was he your first choice?
He had a long career as a career
Was he your
prosecutor.
first choice?
I'm not going to go into the questions.
Did you know him before you picked him?
I did not.
You never worked with him?
I did not.
Did you meet with him prior to announcing his selection and tell him what was going on?
Of course I did.
What happened in that meeting?
I met with him. I asked him if he would be willing to do this. We talked about my understandings of the role of this office, which are on the public record. That's all.
Did he ask for the job?
This is not a job I don't think anybody asks for. I'm sorry.
No, but that's not the question I asked you. I said, did Jack Smith ask for the job?
He did not ask me for the job, no.
Did he convey through someone else that he wanted the job?
I would be surprised if that were the case, but
you don't know?
No, I don't know.
So he may have?
I can only tell you what I know. I chose him because he had a record of impartial career experience as a prosecutor. That's why he was chosen.
Was it impartial when he went after Governor McDonnell?
He was a member of
He was after Governor McDonnell. That case gets appealed to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court unanimously said it was wrong and overturns the conviction?
He was in the public integrity section of the Justice Department, a career position. They made the decisions they thought were warranted, and we respect the decision of the Supreme Court.
Did the fact that he was interested in going after the very people who were targeted by the IRS about a decade ago, did that have any influence on your selection? Okay, let's put up this slide here. This is from Jack Smith to some other folks in the Justice Department, and it says, could we ever charge a conspiracy to violate laws of the U.S. for misuse of such nonprofits to get around existing campaign finance laws? Jack Smith was looking to prosecute the very people who were targeted by the Obama IRS.
I don't know. You have excerpts from an email I've never seen. You should know that
IRS Commissioner Sarah, I'm just asking this way into your decision. Did you know about this?
No,
what
no,
Jack Smith was
I don't
trying
know
to
if
do?
it's. I also don't know if it's true now.
IRS Commissioner Sarah Ingram oversees this from Jack Smith himself. Let's discuss tomorrow, but maybe we should try to set up a meeting this week. And here's the response. Here's the response. You didn't get your meeting with Miss Ingram from the IRS, but she's sending the head of the exempt organizations, Lois Lerner, who's known to us. So Jack Smith meeting with Lois Lerner, looking for ways to prosecute the very people who were victims of the Obama IRS. And I'm just asking, did that factor in your decision to name Jack Smith as special counsel?
I didn't have any idea about the things.
Didn't know about that.
No, and I don't know whether they're true now by looking at this.
But they're definitely true, but you didn't know about it. But this guy was so important, you have to bring him from Europe back here to go after President Trump, name him as a special counsel. Do you regret the pick?
I'm sorry,
Do you regret picking him?
No, I do not regret picking him.
Well, prosecutors aren't supposed to tamper with evidence, and it looks like that's what he did. He changed the sequence of the documents that he seized from Mar-a-Lago.
I'm sorry, that's a false characterization, but that is ongoing.
Here's what he said to the court, Mr. Attorney General. There are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as in the associated scans. I mean, he said it. I didn't say it. He told the court that.
Now you're asking me to comment on a discovery dispute that's ongoing in a court. I don't know the facts of it, and I'm not going to comment on it.
No, this is from Jack Smith filing with the court. He admitted to the court that they tampered with the evidence. He mishandled the very documents he's charging President Trump with mishandling. And I'm just asking, do you regret picking this guy as the special counsel in the most important special counsel investigation probably in American history?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the words tamper in the statement that Mr. Smith filed. He did not use those words.
Well, let me ask it this way. Are you supposed to change the order of the documents that you seize and the physical documents don't match up with the scanned documents? Are you supposed to do that as a prosecutor?
This is a matter in dispute, in discovery, in that court, and I'm going to leave it for the district court to make a determination. After
I would just say one last thing. It's not in dispute. This is what he said in the court filing. Jack Smith's team said that to the judge in the court. By the way, this case is now basically on hold because they've screwed up so many things.
Again, I don't know whether your description of the facts are true or not true, and I'm not going to intrude in a decision in a district court.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from California.
Mr. Attorney General.
Recognized for unanimous consent request.
Mr. Chairman, I have an article dated May 6, 2024 called Day C Crime Facts without objection.
Without objection.
And a Vanderbilt Law Review article titled Corruption of a Term, the Problematic Nature of 18 U.S.C. 1512C, the Federal Justice Power Provision.
Thank you. Without objection. Thank you, gentlemen. Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney General, I want to go back to the Mr. Colangelo questions that I didn't quite get answers with. Is it true that Mr. Matthew Colangelo, who was at one point the third highest ranking official at the DOJ, joined Bragg's DA office in New York before the Trump prosecution? Do I have that right?
I don't know anything other than it's on the public record. He was the principal deputy to the Associate Attorney General, and he joined the case in New York. I don't know how it related timeline to the prosecution.
Has anyone from the department, your department, been in touch with Mr. Colangelo or ever discussed any of the case about President Trump since he left?
Look, we have 115,000 people in the department. I can speak for myself. I have not had any communications with Mr. Colangelo.
So you don't know if anyone in the department has?
As I said, there's 115,000, and I don't know what they've talked about.
So if I asked for further information and sent you a letter, could I get some of these questions answered? I've asked for correspondence. I sent a letter back in April and haven't received a response. You said in your testimony that you've gone to extraordinary lengths to get Congress information they request.
Yeah, look, I'm in favor of transparency because I believe it will show that these allegations about some kind of control or collusion between the department and the independent Manhattan office are not true.
So then would you...
We'll take back your letter and we'll try to get a response to you.
To kind of follow up with what Mr. Gates said earlier this morning, will you commit to releasing any communications between your department and the local DA offices in New York or Atlanta with respect to these Trump trials?
I'm going to commit to look, I would like transparency on this matter. In the normal course, if you submit your letter, our Office of Legislative Affairs will get a response to you.
Because I think one of the problems here is we hear you criticize some of us for being critical and accusing you all of a two-tier justice system. We use the term weaponization of government, but then when we ask you all for information, you tell us we can't have it, or you've decided that we shouldn't have it. So it's difficult when you criticize us, but we don't get the information we're asking for.
I'm not criticizing you, and in fact, we produced 92,000 pages of documents in response to hundreds of requests.
You've called some of the things we've said conspiracy theories. I won't read back your testimony to you, but I've printed it since your office posted it online this morning. And I would just ask you to work with us because it's difficult for us to tamper down some of these claims that you say we're making when we don't get the information we request from you all.
That's fair. I'd be happy to work with you to tamper this down.
Thank you. Hey, we'll tamper away if we can get the information we're asking. I'll yield back to you.
I assume that's a verb. I'm with it.
That's right. Thank you. Mr. Jordan, I'll yield to you.
I appreciate the gentleman yielding. I'm going to go back to where I was, Mr. Attorney General, a few minutes ago. I want to read from this Politico's news story from 1 week ago today.
Sorry.
I just want to read two sentences. It's the first two sentences in the article. The Justice Department has agreed to settle a long-running litigation stemming from a decision in 2017 to release to the media text messages between two former FBI employees involved in the probe of Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Next sentence. In a notice filed with two federal judges in Washington on Tuesday, the Justice Department said it had reached settlements of legal claims that fired FBI agent Peter Strzok and former FBI attorney Lisa Page brought in 2019, alleging that the disclosure violated their privacy. So again, I just want to be clear that the department is getting ready to pay Peter Strzok and Lisa Page some money. Is that accurate?
I wasn't aware that we'd announced it. All I can say is we reached settlements based on our litigators' assessment of whether we can win the case and how much it will cost if we lose the case. That's the way we decide on reaching settlements.
Just to be clear, the guy who texted Peter Strzok, who was involved in the spying on President Trump's campaign, who was then involved, worked on the Mueller investigative team, and sent this text message to Lisa Page, just went to a Southern Virginia Walmart. I could smell, in all capitals, I could smell the Trump support. That guy's going to get tax dollars from the American people?
That case is he brought a case under the Privacy Act. The question is, did the Justice Department violate the Privacy Act?
Lisa Page said this in a text message to Peter Strzok. Trump's not ever going to become president, right? With a question mark. Peter Strzok's response, no, he's not. We'll stop it. And these two individuals are going to get a windfall of money from the American taxpayers because you decided that's the right thing to do?
The Privacy Act doesn't distinguish between people we like and people we don't like, information we like and information we don't like. If somebody in the government discloses personal information protected by the Privacy Act, that's the way the law is.
Jeepers, you can go after a president and you get rewarded for doing so, according to the Justice Department.
It's not a question of reward, it's a question of the government paying for violating the law.
They're going to get a lot of money, and I know that this is what they said. We know what they were up to. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Vermont.
Time to the chairman.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Is the Department of Justice retaliating against whistleblowers?
No, that would be a violation of statute and a violation of our...
The Inspector General seems to think you are. I got this Management Advisory Memorandum dated May 2024, notification of concerns regarding the Department of Justice compliance with whistleblower protections for employees with a security clearance.
I've read the management memo. I think it's a good memo. It doesn't say we've been retaliated against anybody. It says that there have to be additional protections with respect.
Is it just pure coincidence that Marcus Allen's security clearance got reinstated today? A whistleblower came in front of this committee. Democrats disparaged this guy, called him a conspiracy theorist. 27 months without his security clearance, and we find out today it's been reinstated?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know about the facts, anything about the facts of that case. Retaliation against whistleblowers is against the law, and it will be punished.
3 people who've come and talked to this committee as whistleblowers have had their security clearance taken. Marcus Allen gets his security clearance put back in place today. And the Inspector General says he's got concerns, doing an investigation as we speak about what's going on.
I'm sorry, the management memo that you're talking about does not conclude there was any retaliation against
No, he's putting you on notice that he's investigating.
Mr. Chairman, regular order.
The gentleman from California is recognized. Committee will come to order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recess at any time. We welcome everyone to today's hearing on oversight of the Department of Justice. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The chair is now recognized for an opening statement. Justice is no longer blind in America. Today it's driven by politics. Example number 1 is President Trump. Bonnie Willis opens an investigation into President Trump in February of 2021, but doesn't bring charges until after he announces he's running for president. Alvin Bragg said, quote, "I could not see a world in which I would indict Trump and call Mr. Cohen as a prosecution witness." But that's exactly what he did after President Trump announced he was running for president. And the Attorney General names Jack Smith special counsel 3 days after President Trump announces he's running for president. 4 months earlier, before Jack Smith is named as special counsel, the Biden Justice Department, under Attorney General Garland, approved a raid on President Trump's home, something we've never witnessed in this great country. This action broke every norm in our justice system. Don't take my word for it. Former Assistant Director in charge of the Washington Field Office of the FBI, Stephen D'Antuono, said this in his deposition to our committee. 4 standard processes were not followed. The Washington Field Office ran that raid, not the Miami Field Office. The operation was run out of headquarters, excuse me, not from an assigned U.S. Attorney's office, as is customary. The FBI didn't seek consent before doing the raid, and the FBI refused to wait for President Trump's attorneys to be present before the search was conducted. And there's Jay Bratt. Mr. Bratt's on the special counsel team. He met with Biden White House officials multiple times, including just weeks before Jack Smith indicts former President Trump. But what's most troubling is what Mr. Bratt did to Stanley Woodward. Mr. Woodward represents one of the defendants in the documents case. He was summoned by Mr. Bratt to department headquarters. At the meeting, Mr. Bratt informed Stanley Woodward, if your guy flips, if your client changes, it could help your chances for that judgeship you are interested in. Unbelievable. And of course, there's the fact that Jack Smith changed the sequence of the documents he seized in the raid of the president's home. Had to file this with the judge and with the court. The physical documents don't match the scanned documents. Many people call this tampering with evidence. Jack Smith mishandled the very documents he charged President Trump with mishandling. Remember what Special Counsel Hur found. On page 1 of his report, he said this: President Biden knowingly kept classified information. President Biden knowingly disclosed classified information. And then on page 231, he told us why President Biden did it. Page 231, quote, Joe Biden had strong motivations for ignoring the procedures for classified information because he was writing a book for which he got paid $8 million. President Trump gets charged for allegedly mishandling documents, but Jack Smith can mishandle documents, no problem. Joe Biden can mishandle documents, no problem. Never forget, this is the same Department of Justice who made David Weiss the special counsel in the Hunter Biden case. After Mr. Weiss spent 4.5 years investigating President Biden's son and had the sweetheart deal he took to the court laughed out of court, he gets named special counsel. This is the same Department of Justice whose Civil Rights Division has done nothing to address the attacks on Jewish students at college campuses. This is the same Department of Justice who can't tell us who planted the pipe bombs on January 6th, who leaked the Dobbs draft opinion, and who put cocaine in the White House. And this is the same Department of Justice who told us in a memo from the Attorney General himself that moms and dads at school board meetings should be investigated. Same Department of Justice who said pro-life Catholics are extremists. The same Department of Justice who censored Americans. And the same Department of Justice who retaliated against whistleblowers who came to this committee and told us about these wrongdoings. So, Mr. Garland, we're glad you're here today. We've got lots of questions. Many Americans believe there's now a double standard in our justice system. They believe that because there is. And we're going to have lots of questions about that problem. With that, I yield to the ranking member for his opening statement.
Chair Jim Jordan.
Thank you, Mark. Last September, the Speaker of the House announced that the House of Representatives would be entering an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight work. On December 13th, the full House of Representatives voted to do just that, to formalize that. This is a power that is exclusively resides in the House of Representatives, and one of the most important powers that we have as an institution and as a body. Robert Hur, on page 1 of his special counsel report, said Joe Biden knowingly kept classified information, Joe Biden knowingly disclosed classified information, and he disclosed that information to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. On page 231, he told us why Joe Biden did those things. He said Joe Biden had strong motivations for ignoring classified procedures because he was writing a book for which he got paid $8 million. So we have motive, an $8 million motive. We have the elements of the crime, knowingly keeping, knowingly disclosing, giving that information to someone who wasn't allowed to get it. We have all that, and yet the special counsel said he would not recommend charges for President Biden. We think we're entitled to, we know we're entitled to all the evidence, and that includes the best evidence, which is this audio tape. That's why we sent the subpoena. The Attorney General is being clear he's not going to give that information to us. So that's why we have the contempt resolution. We assume this is going to wind up in court, but we think our case is strong and we think that we will prevail. But step one is to pass the resolution holding the Attorney General in contempt for not giving the House of Representatives, the body who's in an impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight responsibilities, not giving us the best evidence. Finally, I would just say this. We think the privilege has already been waived. We think when they gave us the transcript, they've waived the privilege. And understand that there have already been times where the transcript that we've received from the White House doesn't match up with what was actually said by the President of the United States. And so, again, for all those reasons, we think we need this information, and that's why the resolution will be on the floor today. And I'll let the next gentleman talk about the vote on that, and that's our good whip, Tom Emmer.
Thank you, Chair.
As Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, were you guessing or lying? The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, the assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false. The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said that is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed. But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this: top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel. The next day, the New York Times said this: Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail. So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Neither, sir, and I appreciate the question.
Well, what were you doing? Because those statements don't jive.
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
There are a number of ways that threats and risks can be mitigated with a number of different assets, whether that be through personnel, whether that be through technology, or other resources.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what did you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources.
I'm glad she got up out of there. She couldn't handle the scrutiny. This is old, but hey, it came on the screen, man. We surfing YouTube, all right? So.
Based on...
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What did they ask for and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times...
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
Man.
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat or that risk.
But that's not what he said. He said they were denied certain requests, some requests. This is your spokesperson, not me talking. This is the Secret Service talking. And what a change from absolutely false, unequivocally false to, oh, by the way, there were some times where we didn't give them what they wanted. That's a huge change in 5 days. And the fact that you can't answer how many times you did that, that's pretty darn frustrating, not just for me, but for the country.
I hear your frustration.
Let me ask you this. Were any of those requests denied to President Trump's detail after you knew about the Iranian threat?
What I can tell you, again, I don't know the specifics, is that there are times when we can...
My bad, y'all. I thought I had the video playing, but we watching it now.
Fill a request. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a Secret Service asset or resource. We can fill that request with locally available assets.
You spoke to anyone at the White House since July 13th?
Yes, I have.
Who'd you talk to?
I have briefed the President and the Vice President.
Talked to the First Lady?
No, I have not.
Talked to the White House staff? Anyone in the White House communications?
No, I have not.
Have you talked to the counter sniper who took the shot that took out the bad guy?
Yes, I have.
And can you tell us about that conversation?
I would not want to reveal conversations that I've had with my employees.
But that's exactly the kind of information the American people want to know. American people who pay your salary.
I understand. This is an ongoing investigation.
She don't even want to say nothing. That's why she resigned. She quit. We ain't even dealing with her no more. Thank God.
Who's all doing the investigating at Secret Service? I know the Inspector General, but is there also an internal investigation in addition to the Inspector General?
We are conducting a mission assurance investigation internally, yes.
You know what it looks like, Director? It looks like you won't answer some pretty basic questions. It looks like you got a 9% raise and you cut corners when it came to protecting one of the most important individuals, most well-known individuals on the planet. A former president, likely the guy who's going to be the next president. Looks like you guys were cutting corners. That's what it looks like to me. Is that true?
I am here today because I want to answer questions, but I also want to be cautious.
You might want to, but you haven't answered, I don't think you've answered one question from the chairman, the ranking member, or me. Well, we got a lot of other people asking. We'll see if your record improves. But right now, you haven't answered, I don't think, any questions. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Ms. Norton from Washington, D.C.
All right, y'all, man. Look, this was just test run. I know I was messing up a little bit, but it is what it is, man. Look, I'm trying to get back into the groove of what it was and what it can be. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get back into the groove. Trying to get back into the groove. But anyway, man, I'm about to get up off of here, man. I got a long day today. It's early in the morning for me. I got to give me a couple of hours of sleep, and I will be back, man. I got a new camera coming. Right now, this is one of my new cameras right here. If anybody looking to live stream or record videos or whatever it is, man, this is a nice webcam that I got right here. It's a 4K webcam. I got to downgrade the resolution for it to even look good, so 4K don't really matter at this point, but it will. But this is my new camera, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, man, how it look. Do it look good? You know what I'm saying? All of that. So, tired. I pray that God protect y'all, man, and lead y'all into the right directions, man, for greatness and all the above, man. All right, so y'all protect yourself at all time, man. Keep your head on the swivel. God bless you. God bless me, man, and God bless America, man. And I'm out. Mr. Zac Reacts. Peace.